All right, this is We the People News. Okay, not attorney, not giving legal advice, okay? Just opinions. I'm hearsay. So do your own research, educate yourself, okay? So my last video was talking about military be lawfully, legally, or whatever, to be able to shoot you. Well, let's see if we can combat that. What do you guys think? All right.
Too conspiratorial. So here it is. Now, Zero Hedge picked it up from Armageddon Pros, which is a Substack which they often run. It says U.S. military now authorized to kill Americans on U.S. soil. Just ahead, intriguingly, of November elections, and that was my second thought. The military has granted itself permission to unleash lethal force on the civilian population. Again, I thought this has got to be an exaggeration. So I went and looked, and actually go to the next one because this explains what it is. Now, it's not a law; it's a DOD directive. So this is, the administrative state where they take over. They don't pass laws; they are laws unto themselves. Go to the next one if you can, because this is what they're talking about. And I went in and I read this secondly, and it talks about a reissued DOD directive that was reissued just on September 27th, 2024. It governs the Department of Defense intelligence activities and now includes provisions authorizing lethal force in certain circumstances. And it supplants the 2016 version, which did not mention that. So I read all of this, too, which is someone else's analysis. I said, okay, this sounds even more troubling. I want to go look at the document itself. And so go to the next one. I actually went and looked at the DOD directive. It's DOD Directive 5240.01, DOD Intelligence and Intelligence-Related Activities and Defense Intelligence Component Assistance to Law Enforcement Agencies, etc., and other civil authorities, September 27th. Now go to the next one. I'm just going to get to this really quick so I can, just so people, this is on their own website. Now this is Section 3 of that directive, assistance to law enforcement agencies and other civil authorities. Now go to the next one. Now this is levels of authority. This is Section 3.3. Defense intelligence components may provide personnel to assist a federal department or agency, including a federal law enforcement agency or a state or local law enforcement agency, when lives are in danger, in response to such a request for such assistance in accordance with the following approval authorities. Now, here are the authorities. I'm sorry to get so far into the woods here, but go to the next one. Now, you go down here to Section C, assistance in responding with assets with potential for lethality. And I underline this, I highlighted it, or any situation where it is reasonably foreseeable that providing the requested assistance may involve the use of force that is likely to result in lethal force, including death or serious bodily injury. I'm sorry to bog the discussion down with that, Dr. Ball, but I really wanted to hone in on this as their actual...
Now, I want to pause this. So we also got to read the Superiority Clause. And I know I'm pronouncing it wrong. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Or even if that's the case, under Superiority Clause, are they a lawful authority to do this? Just saying, we got to really understand that, because that is our actually biggest weapon, I guess what you could say, against the federal government.
It's not just someone's analysis.
Both parties have used it, one party more than the other, and that is the use of violence, like a target assassination, a really, really bad guy. And that was very bad. It is very bad. But this is something that's much broader.
Yeah.
This deals with like routine policing activity. So I think it's a very dangerous thing. But mixed in this is the weaponizing the Department of Justice. I mean, you say, well, that's just politics. You go after them on the IRS, send them after there and annoy them. But at times that gets really carried away people get imprisoned. How about the people who are in prison over
January 6th. That was my first thought, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that people died from that, and they will die, and there will probably, there'll probably be complications from all this. But then again, the regulations can be well-intended, but people make a mistake. What about well-intended medical care and universal medical care coming from, the federal government? Yeah. They've made a few mistakes over the years, but no, people have lost their confidence, and they, sort of yielded to the government. And I hope, but it was reversed to a degree over the COVID thing, and I'm just hoping they try to prevent this from getting any footing, though. But it shouldn't go by, but it should be reversed. The people should know about it. That's why I'm hoping that, once again, maybe the benefit of all this, it's calling attention to something that, that they hesitate not for a minute. The far left and the authoritarians, this is just a practical tool. It's a useful tool, and that's how you preserve democracy.
Yeah. I think sometimes, people, especially on the right, they get a little caught up in the jingoistic, support the troops, support the troops. They start waving the flags, and they think support the troops means support all the wars that the neocons put the troops into. Well, this kind of will, I think, bring it home to them to understand these troops are going to be deployed against you, and there's not a darn thing they can do about it. And then we've watched, and we've talked about for the last 3.5 years, longer than that even.
And I just want to remind people, in 1997, when they did a survey with the troops, right, 30% said they will shoot you if they are ordered to. And then the ones that got promotions was 30%. So sit and think about that and chew on that for a little bit.
The militarization of really every aspect of government, and we've seen what's happened with the Defense Department, the politicization and militarization of it.
The big question is, what would put the most fear into the hearts of an American citizen? An IRS agent knocking on their door, or soldiers standing out front and knocking on the door, or not even knocking?
Or a weaponized drone.
It's all, when it gets so broad and different ways of doing things, I try to simplify it for my thinking. That is, you have people who are authoritarians and people who, have heard of and should follow a set of rules called natural law and natural behavior, and more peaceful means and changing things voluntarily. But no, there's more people who are just willing to go along with this, and the authoritarian. This is just authoritarianism, a variety of it, and they're doing it all the time. Whether it's the IRS agents, Department of Justice, January 6th people, imprisonment, and that to me is a sad set of affairs. The only tool we have is combating the bad ideas with good ideas, and fortunately, when people are exposed to the principles of liberty, they're very excited about it. All they need is encouragement. Yes, but how do you do it? Well, you have to change people's mind. That's the challenge. I imagine the founders had a lot of second thoughts when they were thinking taking on the British Empire, and yet they did that without a gigantic army. The size of the army didn't matter. Yeah. So that's why we should keep plugging away.
Well, here's what does matter, though. It's directives versus laws. Are we a country of laws or of administrative directives? Now, this is a DOD directive.
Now, that being said, administrative directive. Well, where did they get this at? Do your own research, okay? That is a 1947 Administrative Act that was passed by Congress. However, most people don't know this, all right? This was due nationwide attorneys coming up with this, and then Congress passed it. Well, that's one-sided. That wasn't we the people. That was attorneys or corporation.
Now, if you go to the next clip, this is the law. This is part of U.S. code. This is what the law says about deploying troops in potentially lethal situations against Americans. This is called the Posse Comitatus Act. And you mentioned before the show, you wonder how much young people know about this. It may be a fact that they don't.
Now, that word there is Latin. Again, everything is supposed to be clearly legible for we, the average people, than putting these Latins in there. And, you know, and it confuses us, the average man and woman, right? Which means, by the way, in short, evidence, facts of law. Okay? Or evidence of facts. Okay?
Fortunately, but this is 18 U.S. Code 1385, and let's read it together. Whoever, except in cases and under circumstances expressly authorized by the Constitution or Act of Congress, willfully uses any part of the Army, Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, or the Space Forces as a posse comitatus or otherwise to execute the laws shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 2 years or both. So doing these things are illegal. I would suggest a member of Congress should ask for a clarification on this.
What I would do is, if I were a reporter and able to interview the candidates, and we were interviewing the two candidates for president, what is your position on posse comitatus?
Yeah, exactly.
And assassination.
Yeah, exactly.
Define when it's okay to assassinate Americans or non-Americans.
Yeah. Well, we'll see, but you're right. I mean, this seemed tailor-made for the January 6th type of thing.
Yeah.
Now, let's move on to the next one. This is another big story, and it really...
All right. So, what do you guys think? All right. Now, for me, on my belief, right, we're not even supposed to have martial law. That's the reason why every state has its own militia to prevent this happening. And if we decide to abolish the government because they went out of control, right? They cannot have an army against us to abolish them when they're out of control and dishonor, unclean hands, operating in bad faith. All right. Just my opinion. Okay? Do your own research. These are We the People News. Bye, y'all.